Hi creators, Doro Kiley here again with creationcoach.com. Been a few days since I've been around. I'm terribly sporadic. What can I say? Yeah, I think it's been a week, maybe 6 days. I don't know. But so today we have, I think, a fantastic and timely question. What does female mean? I mean, it seems like such a hot topic right now politically, but I think it's been an issue for a long time. I mean, you could go all the way back to the Younger Dryas event and, the beginning of recorded human history in this time that we have, um, where we've had this problem of where, where does the feminine part of humanity stand? And I think it's been a terrible problem all the way through. I believe there's plenty of evidence to show that, when we're talking thousands and thousands of years ago, female was seen as the most important. The goddess, everybody was in service to her. That obviously went down the drain somewhere along the line, probably had something to do with the development of agriculture. But I think today is a good day to re-explore what the heck we're doing here. We're talking about annihilation and World War III and, maybe who we are as the feminine. And I don't want to get into the whole total physical, there's a big gray area there, but we need, I think, to re-identify that other half of humanity. I just came across a fantastic article by one of my favorite philosophers of all time, Charles Eisenstein, and I'm going to put the link below. It's called Feminine Power, and it's a great article. It's a quick read, and it's also in audio, so you can listen to it. Basically, in a nutshell, if you want to go back, and you know what, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to bring up this image of the caduceus here. Now, I don't know exactly how this all plays out in reality, but this is my story. So what you have here is the caduceus, which is this pole that runs right up the middle, wrapped with two serpents, and then wings on top, and a ball. And so then you have the sky and the mountains, and below that you've got these various levels of what I call in this picture water. You could relate it to water because as you go farther down in any deep body of water, it gets colder, darker, more pressure, eventually becomes disorienting. So I like to use the image of water for that. And of course, you can see there on either side, you've got the two, just all the emotions going all the way up where they come in the strongest. And then it's all related to colors and the musical scale and all that. So now that we're talking about masculine and feminine, a lot of people will say, oh, those two serpents there, one is male, one is female. And sure, you can look at it that way too, if you want to. This way I'm going to present right now is different. I'm going to venture to say that the three chakras that we're looking at here below, the red, the orange, and the yellow. Now these are the places where basically everything that we call humanity takes place. These are all our struggles, our music, our creations, our poetry, our history, our wars. All of it comes in here. These first three levels. Um, so this is humanity. This is everything we know: our history, our arts, our music. Um, if we call love the balancing point, and then you go up, and then the top three chakras are what you have: love, truth, and insight. So you could call these. Um, I'm going to jump out on a limb here, and I could relate these to the god Shiva in Hinduism. And I'm probably going to get some lashback on that. But the reason for that is because they represent the dissolution of of um, of the self, of what we call ourself, me, mine, I, all that identity, ego. So from the center up, you're dealing with the dissolution of the ego. That's why I've always said before, the whole idea of the spiritual path is to become nobody. And that doesn't sit well with a lot of people, because we want to be in humanity, but we only want the good stuff. We don't want the bad stuff. But if you're going to be in humanity, they kind of go hand in hand. If you're going to go overboard in the pleasure zone, you're going to end up in the guilty zone. If you're going to go overboard, with terror and survival and gunfights and shootouts, there's going to be a lot of fear involved. And then the willpower, right? All the games we play, getting on Wall Street, running for president, or just president of the school system, whatever it is. This is where humanity's all taking place. We don't want to go up. We don't want to become nobody. Usually, I mean, we will go up. It's going to happen, because that's like the flower blooming becomes a fruit. You can't stop it from happening. And in fact, everything I say is pretty pointless, because all this is going to happen anyway. But I do think we have some ability to enjoy life right now as we are here. And so anyway, that's kind of, I don't want to go off on a big woo-woo thing, but I do want to say that what's below here: willpower, pleasure, survival, shame, guilt, fear, all this. These are humanity. This is who we are. This is what we call me and mine, my children, my family, my tribe. And I would like to suggest that this is the feminine power. The power that runs through everything we know, we are familiar with. Our parents, our identity. And the up above, I'm going to say, is the masculine drive forward, the Shiva, right? And down below, you can say this is, what's the other god? Shiva, Vishnu. Say this is Vishnu, and a lot of people are going to give me a hard time about that, but Vishnu is in service to life. And so what I'm going to suggest is that if we can set all of our conditionings aside for a moment and look at this and say, this part here, right, from the red to the yellow, is the feminine form. And from that point up is the masculine, is the dissolution. And I'm going to say, in my understanding, it's almost as though the masculine power is pure energy. It's pure energy. It's lightning storms. It's the electric coming into your house. I've said this before. Electric coming into your house has no purpose except to be power running through the lines. But it wouldn't even do that if it didn't have lines. But it becomes useless if it has no purpose run a washing machine or a computer, right? It's a powerful, powerful um, power. But it runs rampant, and it ultimately runs into complete dissolution and destruction if it's left without any form. And so I'm going to say, oh, I want to show this picture too over here. I believe the universe, here, let me bring this up. I believe the universe is made in the form of a torus, and this might be too far out. But I think what's happening is the energy circulates. It comes up through the middle, goes around, comes up through the middle, goes around, and each time you could call it an age or a Kali Yuga, or I don't know what there's a lot of terminologies for this shape. This shape called the torus in general geometry. So I believe, and not just me, I do pick these things up through various religions and cultures and philosophies, that energy does rise up through the spine and out the top. So even when we come into form and we go through form and we start in the survival mode, it's kind of like an egg hatch, we come up and we become mature and we go out the top, which is kind of, we're in the middle right now. We're not out the top, but we're moving in that direction. Anyway, that's the way I see it. We kind of go around and around. You could see this as a fractal. You could see this as a one human life. You could see this as an age. You could see this all the way out. As far as I can see, is like the universe. Maybe our whole universe is in the shape of just a cell in some body, some body much bigger. So it's fun to think of the universe just in fractals. So if our energy is going up, let me bring this back up. If our energy is going upward, that's fine. I think right now we are stuck in this phase right here of power. And there's kind of a lot of electricity, a lot of energy, and it's pushing upward. We're going through the center. And we will begin to go on a dissolution path, probably ultimately, inevitably, whether or not we have to do it like, tomorrow or a few hundred years from now, maybe we can slow it down. At least set our intention. Our intention is everything. So back to female power or female nature, I'm going to say is giving everything form. Women have kind of been pushed to the side. We've been suppressed. We've been turned into sparklers. Our power has been removed, and that's an indication that things are going into dissolution. We can look at Hindi, and I would bet they would possibly be saying Shiva is waking up, or whatever. So this is female power. If we want to slow this transition down, make it tolerable, so that we don't completely self-destruct. This is a beautiful place to live. Why do away with it? Yeah, we're going to come out the top and come around and start all over again. But maybe there are things that we want to preserve, that we want to keep in this, keep the treasures. Women used to have a lot more say. I have a great neighbor, Angela, God bless her. She's a professor of Indigenous studies of the Americas, as far as I understand. It's all beyond me. But she says that, I asked her a question. We had tea last week, and I said, now, if the whole world was destroyed and all of civilization kind of had to start all over again, all the survivors would come out from under the rocks and start all over again, what would be, by your studies of indigenous cultures, what do you think would be the best form of governance? And she didn't hesitate at all. She said the Iroquois Confederacy, which I didn't know what that meant. She clarified and said Iroquois is actually not even an American word. It's French. Can't remember the actual name of it. Haudenosaunee or something like that. Confederacy, which actually Ben Franklin had copied the American Constitution off of. So it had all of the basics, freedom for all, and all men are equal, and all the way down the line, which was pretty amazing. So he was pretty well bought into the native culture, but he didn't really understand the whole culture, because apparently, as my dear neighbor said, the women were actually the ones behind the scene pulling the strings. They were the ones that, let me put this away a minute. So they were the ones that decided who would be the leaders of the outings, the hunting, and men were in charge of trades and bringing home the bacon, basically, as always. And women were in charge of the home, the children, the agriculture, the medicine, the food, the education. All of it was women. Not to say that it was more important, but it was equally important. I like, as I said, electricity can just go everywhere without direction or care. Women are the ones that give it form. And something happened along the way, and I still think it had to do with agriculture. Women started to be suppressed. So I want to be sure to make clear that this is not about good or bad, or pointing fingers, or who's better and who's worse. It's got nothing to do with judging. This is me looking at what I believe to be the movement of life, and dissolution of form is still in service to form, because it frees energy to come around and create again. So I'm not saying that this needs to be stopped by any means. All I want to say is I would like to see the feminine wake up again and begin to help. Perhaps even just make this transition easier. And when I say feminine power in women, I do want to make clear that I understand that right now we are at a position where, and from the beginning, all of us does have male and female in us. And we are going through this change in time and space where genders are perhaps mixing, coming closer. Maybe the veil is being lifted. Whatever it is, my point has nothing to do with identity. It has to do with what's alive in us. There are those, and rightfully so, who want to pursue, and I actually have been one of them, pursue the path to the infinite, which is where we're going, which we have to go, because that's who we ultimately are. I'm not denying anything here. All I'm hoping for is, in the end, for the women, or let's call it the feminine nature, to play its part, to step up and be who it is. And I think it's going to happen. It has to happen. It's part of the transition. But I would like it to come consciously and intentionally, so that the transition is one of a beautiful transition. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. I don't want to make this into a him and her and girls and boys. I want to make clear that right now perhaps is a time when male and female are hard to differentiate, but it's the inner identity that I'm looking at. The one is pushing like lightning, like forward, expressing, and the other is giving it form, giving it shape. And this is not an easy task to balance this out. I mean, we all know that a surge of electricity in the house lines can blow things up. So we want to find the balance. We want to work together. We can't work separately. And this does not mean women in politics. Women in politics, and I'm a baby boomer. I was part of the whole women's lib thing. And we made progress in terms of, not being turned out over our husbands' laps when they got home from work and be spanked. I mean, really, we've had to endure a lot. And we had to break out of that. And I think for the most part, we have. I mean, certainly not everywhere. But I think now the next step is to just say the masculine power has no form without the female nature. It's just explosion, and we're not just sparklers. So we would like to step into a position that we know we're good at, and that is to nurture life. So this is up to men. It's up to men, but women have to prepare for the proper role of being who we are. So we need to talk. We need to at least realize that we have a place. All right, that's me. Anyway, stay creative.